In this tutorial, you're going to learn more about Python strings. So I've defined this course variable and set it to Python for beginners. Now, earlier I told you that you can use both single and double quotes to define a string. But there are times that you have to use a specific form, otherwise you're going to run into issues. Here's an example. Imagine we want to change this string into Python's course for beginners. So we want to add an apostrophe like this, Python's course for beginners. You can immediately see this is going crazy because our string starts here and then terminates here. All these characters that we have after the second apostrophe, Python interpreter doesn't know what they are. So to solve this problem, we need to use double quotes to define our string so we can have a single quote in the middle of the string. So let's change this to double quotes. Now you can see it adds another double quote to close it. We have to manually remove this. And also one more time at the beginning of the string, we need to add another double quote. Now you can see the error is gone. So if we print course, we see Python's course for beginners. Beautiful. Now let's say we don't want this apostrophe here. So we have Python for beginners, but we want to put beginners in double quotes. Once again, if you add a double quote here, Python interpreter gets confused because it assumes the second double quote indicates the end of our string, so it doesn't know what these characters are. So to solve this, we need to change our double quotes to single quotes like this, and then we can add double quotes in the middle of the string. Now let's run this program. There you go. So we get Python for beginners. So these are the cases for using single or double quotes. Now, in all the examples I've shown you so far, we only deal with short strings. But what if you want to define a string that is multiple lines? For example, what if you want to define a string for the message that we send in an email? In that case, we need to use triple quotes. So let me delete this. Now we add 3 quotes. So 1, 2, 3. There you go. So we have 3 quotes to start our string and 3 to terminate it. Again, these quotes can be single or double quotes, okay? Now with this, we can define a string that spans multiple lines. For example, we can say, hi, John. Here is our first email to you. Thank you, the support team. Like that. Now, let's run this program and here's the result. So we get this beautiful multi-line string. Now let's change this back to something simple so we can look at other characteristics of strings in Python. So I'm going to use single quotes and set the course name to Python for beginners. Now here we can use square brackets to get a character at a given index in this string. Let me show you. So to get the first character, we use square brackets and type 0. So the index of the first character in this string is 0. In other words, this is how Python strings are indexed. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So the index of the first character is 0. The second character is 1, and so on. So let me delete this and run this program. We get P. We can also use a negative index here. And this is one of the features that we don't have in other programming languages, as far as I know. So with a negative index, we can get the characters starting from the end. So if I pass -1 here, assuming that 0 is the index of the first character, -1 is the index of the last character. So when we run this program, we should see S. Let's run it. There you go. We get S. If we pass -2, this will return the second character from the end. Let's run it one more time. Now we get R because that is the second character from the end. Okay. So pay close attention to this square bracket syntax because quite often it's the topic for online Python tests or university exams. So if you're preparing for a Python test, make sure to watch this tutorial one more time and understand exactly how this square bracket syntax works. We can also use a similar syntax to extract a few characters instead of just one character. For example, if we type 0:3, Python interpreter will return all the characters starting from this index all the way to this second index, but it does not return the character at this index. In other words, back to these indexes. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. When we run this program, Python interpreter will return the characters starting from index 0 all the way to index 3, but excludes the character at index 3. So when we run this Python program, we're going to see pyt. Let me show you. So I'm going to delete this line, run this program. There you go. We get pyt. Now here we also have default values for the start and end index. So if we don't supply the end index, Python will return all the characters to the end of the string. Let's take a look. So run this program. There you go. We get Python for beginners. But if we change the start index to 1, this will exclude the first character. So when we run this program, we see YTHON. So P is removed. Okay. Now similarly, we have a default value for the start index. So if we don't supply the start index, but add an end index like 5, Python interpreter will assume 0 as the start index. So let's run this program. There you go. We get PYTHO. Now, what if we leave both the start and end index? Well, I told you that in this case, 0 will be assumed as the start index, and the length of the string will be assumed as the end index. So with this syntax, we can basically copy or clone a string. In other words, if I define another variable here, let's call it another, and set it to course square brackets with just a colon, now this expression will return all the characters in the course variable. So this second variable will be a copy of our first variable. Let's take a look. So let's print another and run our program. There you go. We get Python for beginners. So once again, the square bracket syntax is pretty important. If you're preparing for online Python tests or college exams, make sure to watch this tutorial again. Now here's a little exercise for you. I'm going to delete all this code, define a variable called name, and set it to Jennifer. Now when we print name of 1:-1, what do you think we're going to see on the terminal? I want you to use your knowledge to tell what we're going to see on the terminal without running this program. So pause the video, think about it for a few seconds, and then come back, continue watching. So this expression will return the characters starting from index 1, which is the second character, all the way to the first character from the end, but excluding the character at this index. In this case, the first character from the end is R, so R will be excluded. In other words, we're going to see all the characters starting from E all the way to the second E. Let's take a look. So I'm going to run this program. There you go. This is what we get. And I hope you guessed it right.